It's time for another episode of 40K Fanatics Podcast, and we've got guests, Austin.
Oh, do we?
Yes, guests. They're not here, but
they are?
They're around. In fact, they're in the new 40K Fanatics Discord, which has been opened up to the public. So, if you guys click the Discord link down below this pod or in the description, or I know it's a link on Spotify, and I think it's a link on YouTube. I'm not sure if it's a link on Apple Music. It might be something you have to copy and paste, which is obnoxious, but it's the best we can do. But get in there. We had a new member join today.
Exciting.
Yeah. Friend of the show, Dave and Company's in there, so you can talk to him. He's posted some of his models. It's, we've got a bits box in the Discord. You too can share your bits box and tell us all about all the incredibly descriptive detail of how you got to what you did, just like we do to you, which I understand some of you hate, but we're going to keep on doing it because we can't help ourselves, and it's our show. But the first thing we're going to do, like we do every time, is open up the Vox channel and read some of your comments. If you have a comment to leave on the pod, you can leave it anywhere that you can talk to us. You can put it in the Discord. We don't care. But the ones we have, this is on our most recent pod, Warhammer 40K Terrain Sucks is what the pod is called, which it's got some people interested. Eugene Fist says, he gives a timestamp, 24 minutes and 10 seconds. Might I add $500 for gray plastic? You also got to put in the time and effort to paint those. And let's not fool ourselves here. You ain't rattle canning a $500 set. You probably want that S to look good. So you're going to spend time and effort making it look good, which he's 100% right. The terrain that GW offers is prohibitively expensive, and it's nice. It's upsetting that it does not match anything that seems to be the way that they would like the game played, which is his own problem. But he's not wrong that if you're going to spend the money, it needs to look good on the back end. And Craig Johnson, the homie Craig, local homie, says GW terrain has always been prohibitively expensive. It's like buying another army. And that's true.
Is.
Yeah, and that's true too. And again, I just reiterate my point that is a fact and also an indictment on the way that they don't have a terrain set that makes any sense for their sort of published terrain meta, I guess we could call it,
Yeah.
It's a real fumbling of things. Some people get in the comments and talk about how we're just shills for GW, but I'm pretty hard on them on this one because it doesn't make any sense.
Oh, no, it's a really weird situation they put themselves in.
And I feel like totally unnecessary situation. Like,
oh, no, exactly.
Like, I just don't understand how nobody at GW has the time to go and find some terrain. Like, figure something out, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dave and Company has a... Yeah, Dave and Company is here with a... I haven't read this comment, so I'm going to read it live. Bleep it. We're doing it live. One more. This is Dave and Company, and he's leaving this over on Spotify, which the comments are enabled on Spotify. Apparently, they're hard to see if you're on the desktop version of Spotify, but I think you, Austin, are the only one in the world who uses that, because I could see them on my phone, and Dave and Company says... I think there are 3 players on the 40K battlefield: the attacker, the defender, and the terrain. The terrain should be a major focus, for thematic reasons, to tell a story, and just to make your models look good. I've been playing a league at my friendly local game store, and all we use is the paintball course with MDF terrain. Luckily somebody painted it, but still, it's dull, and frankly no battlefield on Earth is totally symmetrical. I have a ton of terrain, but GW needs to fix this for new players. That was a big thing we harped on during that pod. Go back and listen to it and let us know what you think, and comment with what you think. But 100%, it's just crazy that if you're a new player, you just I don't know what you do. You just Google around until you find Frontline Gaming's MDF terrain, and then you buy that. But then you got to go get your acrylic sheets and all this nonsense to make it be like it is in the instructions. It doesn't make any sense. It's totally ridiculous. But we covered all that last week go and give it a watch, give it a listen. And also be sure to like and subscribe and rate the podcast on Spotify. That's a lot of help so that everybody can find us and possibly join the Discord.
Oh yeah.
For about a week, we were just giving a private pod to Dave and Company in the Discord, so you can get that too because we don't have anything better to do with our lives. Time to open the Bits box.
Er?
The Bits box is the part of the show where we talk about the things that we've been doing in the miniature hobby this week. Austin, what have you been doing?
Well, actually, while you, I was waiting on you to get ready for the podcast. I was at my desk painting. I had to clear it off to get ready for the podcast. But I was touching back on my giant. I wasn't exactly thrilled with how his muscle tones were. I felt like there was just too much too much definition, I guess I'd say, between the two tones of it. So I was trying to do a little glaze on it, trying to see if I could try to like even it out a little bit. I'm letting that dry right now. Check in on it and look at it again. And I was also working on some dwarves. I was painting some dwarves for the old world.
Yeah, you sort of had a little bit of islanding going on, I think is what they call that, where the sort of muscle bellies have got just a darker outline all around, and it starts to look very comic booky, doesn't it? If you're not careful.
Uh, I guess I don't know. I don't know if I'm just like too obsessed looking at it, like looking at it too much, not taking the time to just look at it from where it would be on the table instead of like looking at it like 3 centimeters from my eyes.
Have you ever? I mean, the struggle is really that it's a miniature that is only a miniature in name, right? Like, obviously, it's not a life size giant, but it's so huge compared to other stuff. Have you ever done anything that large that is not a vehicle?
No, I don't believe so. I've tried avoiding flesh is the thing.
Oh yeah.
I actively avoid flesh in my miniatures because I don't like painting flesh.
So are you a all helmets guy?
No, faces are okay. It's muscles. I can't paint muscles. I can do faces. I just can't get the muscles right.
Somebody needs some Catachan jungle fighters in their guard army. It sounds like
Yeah,
got to get your weight up. Got to get in the flesh painting gym, don't you?
yeah. You know, I did have an idea for a guard regiment involving a lot of flesh.
I like that. Are you going to
Yeah,
share that, or is that a
yeah,
possible
yeah.
tease?
Well, it's not really a tease. It's just a thing I was playing with, and one reason I was so upset at the new guard codex was it kind of like ruined that idea for me because then I'd have to proxy them as something else because they wouldn't be their own like thing. They couldn't just be an infantry squad. I'd have to call them Catachan or Cadians or Krieg. But I had the idea of taking some of the flagellant kits from the new Empire from the old world. The crazy religious guys who are like whipping themselves or wearing rags and everything.
Yeah.
And I want to take some of them and buy some Catachan and take the arms off the Catachan and put them on the bodies of the flagellants and have sort of like a ragtag pilgrim force of like religious pilgrim guardsmen
Who are
as a
all?
regiment.
Yeah. So they'll be like Jacked Pilgrim from the Animaniacs, doing a barn raising by himself.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that reference, but just like because I watched the Seventh Seal recently, and they have flagellants in that, and I love that scene with the flagellants. And I wanted it as an army of sci-fi flagellants.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, man, that's a lot of armless Catachan you would have laying around on the back
Yeah,
end. Double
luckily they're
expensive.
cheap.
I suppose they are. I've been working on a couple of characters. I've been working on my Warp Smith and my Chaos Lord with Jump Pack, the new guy for Chaos Space Marines, and I've been doing my usual thing with a double trim recipe where I do all the Chaos Space Marine trim in like a dark copper, and then I go through with the brightest gold and zhuzh it up so that it reads as gold. But what happens is it tends to give it a little more depth throughout, and those Army Painter Fanatic metallics are excellent, and the darker colors cover so well that on these guys, I chose to do a dry brushing of white quite heavily all over so that their armor panels would be You know, it's not quite chalky, but there's stuff going on. You know, because you get that sort of randomness, that texture of all the dry brushing. And sometimes I've gone back through and put like a super thin down black contrast paint over it. I've not done that so far, and I think it's turned out good. And I think the reason why is in the past I had done just sort of a one pass trim, but on these guys I'm doing the two pass trim, and that adds a lot of depth to those metallics. And so
Hmm.
I don't feel like that the sort of maybe lighter, grayer than I'd like armor panels. They sort of disappear into the composition. Let's call it. So
Yeah.
I'm enjoying that. I also tried out a thing of like a multi-pass dry brushing thing for all of the little spindly limbs and stuff on the warpsmith. You know, because he's kind of like got a Doctor Octopus thing going on, and
Hmm.
that I think is working well too, and I'm probably going to do some of that kind of stuff when I do Vashtor the Archiphane because he's got these metal wing, like skeletal wing things, and he's going to be a lot of dry brushing and a lot of kind of back and forth that way. So I'm I'm at once doing characters, but I'm also practicing for a bigger project. But I think they're turning out well.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, also, I've
Mech. I,
go ahead.
I would say mechadendrites is what you're looking for the Doctor Octopus thing. They're
Yeah,
called mechadendrites.
yeah. And yeah, because one of them's like a melta and one's a flamer, and he's just got all this stuff going on. And I don't like the Warp Smith. That's another thing. He is not a model that I care for, to be honest. But I'm doing my best with him. I also did my first ever transfer. I put a Iron Warriors skull thing on his shoulder from one of the Chaos Space Marine transfer sheets, and it was the first time I ever successfully got the transfer off of the cardboard. I've tried it before,
Mhm.
and the thing just turns into dust and tears up. But I got it on there. It's not quite smooth yet. I put a little bit of varnish over it, and maybe it needs some more. I don't know. I don't. I didn't have any micro set or whatever it is to spray on it.
Yeah,
But
that's the good stuff.
yeah, I'm gonna have to find some of that maybe if I ever want to do another one. So far in my entire 40K life, I've not done a single transfer. So you know, I don't know. I don't know if you need them, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to try one since I'm that Warp Smith is I mean, he's an experiment, right? He's just kind of
Hmm.
one of those sort of things. So because I don't love him as a model, I don't know.
You don't like the little chaos engineer?
No, I don't. I don't like it's his stupid cable train that I don't like. He looks like he's going to a wedding, you know?
Yeah, that's like 90% of the Mechanicus range is that wedding trails of cables. Got the like RCA's and everything else coming off them.
Yeah, this guy's got like an old banana clip thing off the back, you know. It's ridiculous. But so that's what I've been working on. I posted on X. Check us out on X over at 40K Fanatics podcast there, where all the spicy stuff is kicking off. I tell you, I I don't know what everyone else's X looks like, but from the look of mine in the last 2 weeks, uh, there cannot be anybody left on Blue Sky. Let's just say that the Blue Sky experiment, I feel like, is over because every there there's no lack of dissenting opinions. And I think my Discord might have just made a notification.
I see that. It looks like it's Dave in Discord.
One of us, yeah. If you guys heard that, we're sorry. So you'll just have to
But you,
bear with us as we
you guys
continue
better
to.
join the Discord so you can make pings too.
Yeah, that's right. You guys could spam ping us when we're recording, but we're not going to tell you when we're recording. That way you don't know, so you'll just have to spam us constantly. Ooh, someone's going to make a bot that does that. Never mind, don't do that. That'll be frustrating. I got my computer back. I know that's not a Bitsbox thing, but it sure feels like it to me. All my RAM had gone bad. I asked the guy, "How does RAM go bad?" He said, "Just using it." I said, "All right." Cool. $400 later, we're back
I mean,
to being able to record the pod now at your house or mine. So,
yeah.
I don't think I've got anything else for the bits box.
All right, I'll close it. Earl.
All right, let's get into our main topic today. And our main topic today is what I think is going to be. We've touched on it a little bit. We touched on it a little bit in the recent LVO reveals, but we're talking about demons and chaos. So we know the new Emperor's Children Codex is coming out. It's very exciting. We've got new models. We've seen the new Noise Marines. We've seen the odds and ends. We got a new Primarch, right? But then they revealed that in the Emperor's Children Codex, there will be Slanesh demons.
Yep.
And I learned of this on Tabletop Tactics, who I recommend for all your battle report stuff. They've got a podcast section too. And once upon a time, in the before times, I want to say it was 7th edition, it could have been 6th, there was one codex that came out, and it was,
I believe it was 7th.
yeah, and it was the Demonkin, the Khorne Demonkin codex. And from what I learned from there, is it was World Eaters / Khorne Space Marine stuff, and Khorne demons. And the way it worked, the rules worked is as you did stuff with your Space Marines, you would gain points, and then you could spend the points to summon demons, and then you could take demons as well. And it was apparently really good, but it was the only time they did it that way. But I think that that's the direction we're gonna see in all of these. In the big four, right? The big four demon, Chaos Space Marine, what do we call them? Adjacent. Your Thousand Suns, your World Leaders, your Death Guard.
Your god specific legions.
Yeah. And I think this is really interesting because there's a couple of implications with it, right? There is the sort of de facto fleshing out of ranges that some of them don't have a whole lot going on. Looking at you, World Leaders, Emperor's Children. And then there is the fact that it gives you more stuff to do with demons because there are some demon ranges that are either really, really old or not very fleshed out either, right? And then finally, the third part of this that I think is interesting is what then happens to straight up Chaos Demons as a faction. And my opinion of that, which I think we could probably start with, is we already have it. I think that Chaos Demons Codex is released. You're looking at it.
Yeah, the Grotmus attachment kind of takes care of that.
Yeah, and people are like, so what does this mean? Or is my demons as an army going to go away? And I don't see any reason why that would be so. What I predict is going to happen is GW will at some point release a Chaos Demons book, and it will just be some lore, some pictures, and the Grotmus detachments and the combined Demons detachment. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Because people like books, and what I don't think they're going to do is come out with a whole new 4 mono demon detachments. They've done that. Since when does GW do work twice, unless it's something like AdMech where it was just, non-functional?
Yeah, and I mean, it seems hard if you wanted to do more kind of like detachments for like Chaos Demons for like each individual god. It's like too much stuff to do.
Well, yeah, you're right. I don't, and also not all the demon ranges have enough models to support different flavors of different mono demon armies, right?
Yeah.
My thinking when before this, it's like, what is a Chaos Demon Codex going to look like? And I said, well, there'll be like a combined demon. There will be 4 mono demons, and then I thought they would have one more detachment, a 5th or a 6th that would be like Monster Mash, where it's just greater demons and just minimal support, right? So something to leverage. Just I want to bring 2 great unclean ones, a couple of Keepers of Secrets, and right? Be'lakor.
Yeah.
Because Be'lakor is a little bit odd man out here, right? If we're about to get demons in 4 books, along with their Space Marine counterparts, where does Be'lakor fit? And
Yeah.
I think he is the linchpin that holds a Chaos Demon army / codex release together.
Mhm. Yeah, he would. I would have said he could have come out for the Chaos Space Marines as like an undivided thing, but that codex has already come out.
Yeah, and
So that kind of kills that.
yeah, and you can take demons in that thing too, but they're very secondary. So let's talk about this. So the idea of demonkin, where the demons and their associated space marines are more one and the same rather than being this separate thing. I think that's awesome because world leaders and in a minute Emperor's Children do not have enough models to make an army. Like,
Well, they do talk about coming out with a second wave for Emperor's Children.
well, sure, but when will that be? Like, maybe we'll get that right before the release, but I don't. What would it be? Would it be a bunch of tanks? Would it be different? Would it be some sort of cultist? Because I think what they're doing here, and I think this is a good idea, is that sort of there's a couple things going on. One, demons are kind of in and out of effective as armies, right? Sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're not any good at all. So you've got this in and out thing with the demons to begin with. And then and then there's the greater demons. Everybody always wants them to the point that they had to mandate that, like, if you're going to take them, you like with Chaos Space Marines, then you have to take some little battle line because nobody ever wants anything but they never want anything but the little the Nurglings.
Yeah.
That's all anybody ever wants. And the demonettes and the little, what are they? The corn bloodletters, and I don't know what they are for the Thousand Sons. They just they don't ever get any table time.
Incors.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be great if now you have a cultist thing, which is say a demonette for the Emperor's Children, because the demonettes are fun. They're fast and they've got I think they have devastating wounds on all their melee weapons. They don't shoot at all. But that's a way more fun thing than it's like, oh, here's my 10 cultists and they sticky objectives, so we're gonna put them on the home objective until they get blown away. It's like
I like the cultists.
I like the cultists too. I mean, but chaos the sort of regular Chaos Space Marines already do that, and I think it's cool that we're getting this demonkin kind of thing where these armies are going to look and function quite a bit different because what I predict we'll see is there will be detachments that are more Space Marine focused or more demon focused. So you can leverage whichever side of that you want, and then that's how you end up with enough detachments to be worth a book with some of these smaller armies. Because what we don't want is what the is what the Imperium has, where everybody's just using the entirety of regular Marines and then calling them Blood Angels, you know, or vice versa, using some Blood Angels and then calling them regular Marines, and so every single Marine army, no matter what they're supposed to be, just look like they just look like any random Space Marine army. Like they don't actually have anything that's making a distinction because we don't have any force organization, but don't get me started on that. But I think having the demons in is going to make a little bit of that force organization that we want, where you're I mean, Death Guard is the odd man out on this because their model range is huge. Like they've got nearly as much stuff. It feels like they do have as much stuff as regular Chaos Space Marines. They've got their own set. They got their own set of vehicles.
They were the 8th edition launch army.
Yeah, they've got so many characters. Their rules are good, and we don't even have new detachments. We just have the two, and they're both fine. Now here's another thing. So the Demonkin is cool, and it's a changing of course from the you're playing chaos, so you can include some demons. It's not quite soup, but I've got here on our list soup talk. And you know a
So,
bit about this because it existed when you started, right?
yeah,
Because this is
I used to
not
do
what we
soup.
want.
I used to
Explain
be a soup man.
explain the soup to me.
Okay, so in eighth edition, I'm specifically talking about eighth edition because that's what I know about the most. But in eighth edition, we had soup, and that was to where when you built your army, you could have your detachments, and detachments were different sort of mini force organizations. So you could take like a battalion detachment, which believe needed two HQs and then three troops, basically three battle line units, and that was your detachment for your battalion. And then if you still had points left over, you could attempt to put other detachments inside your army. And these didn't have any bonus rules or anything. These were just kind of like this is your kind of your building blocks to building an army of your detachments. So you've got your building block of, let's say, your guard battalion, and then you also want some space marines. So you could take like a patrol detachment of space marines, so one HQ, and then I think one troop or something else. And this was pretty cool. This was interesting if you want to do more like thematic armies and having uh, different things like space marines and guard, or guard and sisters, or sisters and space marines, or uh, the different chaos could soup together. The only thing was Xenos were kind of out of luck because they couldn't soup with anyone. Not Tau, Tyranids and uh, what are they called? Genestealer cults. They could soup together. Uh,
Which now we've come back
but
around to being able to do again.
yeah, uh, but this whole system, as much fun as it was, came with the problem in that you could generate command points with your detachments. So you didn't get regenerating command points in eighth edition. So there was a big arms race to produce command points, and you produced command points by taking detachments. So the game was to take as many detachments as you could in your army. So it was just stacking detachments upon detachments to just boost up your command points, and that created just a massive mess of soup. And
Yeah,
it
I
was
mean,
mainly it was an Imperium problem because
yeah,
you would take your loyal 32 guardsmen in every list. Every list ran guardsmen and their little detachment just to get 3 command points.
yeah, and you ended up with the army rules of every little detachment. So it's as if you've got, here's 250 points of a guard army and all the rules associated, and then here's this, that, and the other, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Which
it was just
that
a mess.
yeah, that sounds like an amount of bookkeeping that would drive you crazy. So
Yeah,
you're
coming to the store with like 5 codexes with you, like, oh, I'm ready to play the game.
Well, and I get the idea of it, right? The idea is like, okay, we're going to do Imperial Fists, say 1,500 points worth and 500 points of Custodes, and they're going to be back here protecting the throne room, and you're going to bring a bunch of different, basically do the Horus Heresy, right?
Kind
E-
of.
Except what people really do is they're like, I've got a bunch of salamanders and they're all my flamers because they're the best flamers, and then I'm doing guard because they've got the best tanks, and then I'm going to do these space marines because whatever space marine chapter has the best terminators, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
that's not what we meant. This isn't supposed to be just unlimited optimization.
Well, this is coming off the back of Age of Sigmar, which had just recently come out. Uh, Before this, I think it may have been, yeah, it was still in its first edition. And Age of Sigmar's big thing was making to where you can take anything you want in the game and play it in the list. They were experimenting with bleeding that into 40k to where it's like you can take anything you want, but given rules to that. Like anything you want in a list within reason was the way they were looking at it.
Yeah. Well, and again, the idea sounds nice and thematic and fun. The practice would be just for everybody to break it.
Yeah,
I definitely like how we're getting some soup action that doesn't feel as broken. However, I was discussing in the local group chat recently about someone was asking, like, I'm playing Chaos Space Marines. Can I take like Plague Marines or whatever? And I hadn't even thought about it because I feel like that's heresy itself. But you absolutely can. You can take like five in a 2,000 point game. You can take 500 points of I think noise marines, berserkers, plague marines, whatever the heck, rubric marines, right?
Yeah.
And I went and looked at it and I'm like, well, do the keywords work? And at first glance, they do not. But then I went back to the army rule for Chaos Space Marines, and it's a 2 paragraph thing. The first part is you pick lethal and sustained, the part that everybody knows. The second part is if you take some of these other dudes, they get Heretic Astartes keyword, which means that you do get the army rule and the detachment rules for these other guys. And that makes Plague Marines the 100% better choice.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and that
this
is
isn't.
that is very lame.
Well, I'd say it's not necessarily like these are Death Guard Plague Marines. It's just Plague Marines generic. These are just Plague Marines.
How they going to be better than the Black Legion Legionary though? You see? Because the thing is the Plague Marines are pointed for Death Guard. They're not pointed for Black Legion, which makes a bit of a difference too. Because in the Death Guard, if you're running a Death Guard army, I don't think you get lethal and sustained and all that. You know, you get like +1 toughness, or you get the ring of contagion or whatever. Um, and so when you take these things that are pointed for one army rule and then you put them with the same points into a different army, you get some funniness happen where they're cheap as chips and then they're just patently better. And
Well,
that's not what they mean.
why don't they have a separate like data sheet or points value?
Well, and now we get into why the Demonkin idea is so good because they've done this now with Agents of the Imperium. So in that Agents of the Imperium codex, you've got different data sheets for Death Watch than you do in the Grotmus, rejuvenated Death Watch detachment, which I think is awesome because I think it uses I'm not sure what set of points and data sheets it uses. I guess it's a regular Space Marine Army rule, and then they gave them those sort of original. I mean, they were reworked, but more like the original Kill Team data sheets. But then the points are different too. So you've got if included in Agents of Imperium points, or if included as Space Marines, which I think is
Mm.
wonderful. Like if we're going to have this giant multi-page document of points come out every month or two, it like point it all however it needs to go in all the iterations that it can, I think.
Yeah.
Here's a question. Do you think that we will get every single demon data sheet in the, say, Emperor's Children? Like, will we get all Slanesh, or will we only get a small sampling of them?
Honestly, I think we might get everything because I feel like what GW is doing is they are trying to organize the Chaos Demons as they do in Age of Sigmar. Because in Age of Sigmar, every god-specific army book contains both mortal followers and demonic followers. So I feel like that's what they're trying. Chaos Demons has always been a problem for Games Workshop in that it's one army for 2 games. And if they can kind of like start breaking that apart to where you can't necessarily play both games, you can, but you won't be like you won't have all your parts to it. You can be like, oh, I've got my Slanesh army, Slanesh demon army, but I don't really have a lot of the Chaos Emperor's Children stuff that I want, or I don't really have the Hedonite stuff I would want to play AOS. It kind of locks you into one of those games. If you want to play both, then you kind of have to start buying more for your army. It's
Right.
kind of the way I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, and I mean, look, they're always going to land on the side of buy more stuff for your army, which is fine because ultimately that's what we want to do. Because I think that demons were in danger. There was a lot of conjecture about would the demons go away entirely and just be taken out of 40K and given to Age of Sigmar, and I think we're seeing the opposite. It's like no, no, the demons are not only not going anywhere, but they're about to be a much bigger thing. Because I feel like I feel like up until now, demons and knights they've been outlier armies. And what I think they are, and I'm about to make knight players angry, they've been cop out armies. Demons, too. The only demons anybody wants to run are a bunch of greater demons. And knights are knights. And how many times, if you had $1 for, every time you heard somebody say, I'm going to play knights, you only have to paint 6 models. Like, okay, but that's not what we're doing. That's not what the game is, right?
Yeah.
Like this is not Monopoly where we gotta, have the 6 pieces: the hat, the car, the shoe. That's not what this is. It's supposed to be a war game. You're supposed to have an army. I'm sorry. If you want to play a war game, you have to field an army. And demons have gone the way of knights, where it's like, well, I only got 8 models because or 12 models, and 4 of them are nurglings.
I feel like the demon thing is more just the people that are playing demons. They're playing because some of the greater demons are so good, so that's all they're gonna run. They're like, oh, I'm just gonna. They're not interested in running a demon army. They're interested in running an action figure army. That's what they want. They want to run action figures.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. But then that makes the rest of the demon range just, die on the vine, right? Like, how many. When was the last time you saw all of the slash characters at the store? You don't. You've got the Keeper of Secrets and maybe one other if you're lucky, and then that's it because nobody even bothers to stock the rest of the stuff. I mean, you got to look on Amazon and eBay if you want to find any of the chariots for Slanesh. And
Yeah,
don't get me started on the corn demons because those guys are crunchy looking. I I don't know when the last time was they had any kind of model refresh, but it might have been that Demonkin Codex for all I know.
they're crunchy.
Yeah, man, those boys don't look good.
Which ones?
The bloodletters and stuff, the corn demons.
I guess.
I mean, they don't look slick like a new GW model. I'll say that.
I mean, I'm looking at them right now. They don't look too bad to me.
I don't know, man. They look rough to me. To my eye. To my eye, they look like they're from another time.
They look no different than demonettes.
The demonettes are from another time too. There's no doubt. The demonettes make no sense because they're all just sort of standing there.
They're standing there, you see, so they can get shot by bolters.
Right, right, because they fall right down too. That 5-up save is good when it's a las cannon. It's rough when it's a bolt pistol, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think a bolt pistol would be the equivalent because it'd just be one shot. Doesn't matter what the AP would be if it's just one shot.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like the demon save is great when it's when you're just tanking cannon shots, but then you realize that bolt pistols and things will take you down just as easy.
Yeah.
Which in the sort of tanky meta we have right now, not many people are ever shooting with just a spread of bolt gunfire. So I don't know. Maybe it's not so bad. But we plan to find out. The homie Valerie's she's still chipping away at her little Slanesh army. So at some point we'll probably have that ready to go. And again, we got Mono Slanesh, which I think is great. And I think it's the best one, people are saying, which I don't know what you run to make it good, but
I think it's the Keeper's Secrets, like hauling the whole team to the finish line.
which I'm not mad at. I mean, it is a greater demon. It should be a threat. It just seems silly to me when people have 5 of them, because that's
Yeah.
the thing. The rule of 3, I think, works great when it's an army that looks like an army. It's not so great when it's like Monster Mash. And I kind of feel like more things just across the board in the game should be should be limited to one thing.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that not everything's an epic hero. Maybe something like a Keeper of Secrets should not be an epic hero so that you can still put an enhancement on it. But I don't feel like it makes sense for there to be three Keepers of Secrets. I don't know that the demons in the lore and things play nice enough with one another for that sort of you know that sort of avatar of their chaos god to be chilling with the rest of them.
You could do like 1 per 1,000 points.
Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it? Because
Yeah,
then
that's
that,
what Old World does.
yeah, that'd give you two, and two is probably enough to make sense. I mean, nobody's taking two Primarchs because you can't, because they don't match up, right?
Yeah.
But if well, those are epic heroes. It's like, I know exactly, and I understand that Shalaxi Hellbane is an epic hero, I think, for demons, but then you can't take an enhancement on Shalaxi, so that's why the Keeper of Secrets becomes the move. Yada yada yada. Um, we just, you know what we need, Austin?
What?
Pointed war gear and force organization.
What?
We need it.
No.
We need it. We've been free too long, and all we've done is ruin ourselves. We've spoiled our own sacks.
Our sacks are spoiled.
Spoiled sacks at 40K Fanatics podcast. Get at us. Let us know what you think. What do you think is going to happen to Chaos Demons? Are they going to release a book that you can buy? Will it just be a reprint of what we already have, which I think would be fine, or will it be some sort of rejigging of what it is that we already have? I could see them doing that too. Sort of cleaning up and taking care of whatever erratas are going to happen between now and then.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that needs to happen sooner rather than later for the entire game. The core rules are quite good right now. I would like to see blast weapons and flamers get a giant nerf where you just aren't having 80 dice rolled just because oops, 5 guys have grenade launchers. I don't like that.
Nope.
But that's a discussion for another pod on how to fix torrent and blast. But until next time, don't forget,
Stay fanatical.